Good evening. Welcome to For the Record. The Republic of Fiji Military Forces has played a key role in the country's political development and has often seen itself in the past as the last bastion and guardian of democracy and security in the country. What role does it see for itself in Fiji's future? And will it remain an independent and impartial observer in Fiji's political life? Joining me this evening to discuss this and more is the Commander of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces, Rear Admiral Commander William Porto. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Stanley Bola viewers.
So you were appointed acting commander of the military 2 years ago in August 2015. Then traditionally welcomed to Queen Elizabeth Barracks as Army Commander just a year ago in June 2016. What's your first year been like as commander?
Interesting, I would say, perhaps is the word. I was not expecting it. For somebody who was in the military for 26 years.
Most of that in the Navy?
Most of it in the Navy, and then I was up at headquarters. My last job at headquarters is Director of Finance and Logistics. And then went out into the civilian civil service and go through Director Immigration, Permanent Secretary, Fisheries and Forests, and then Minister. And then to come back to the military, I would say of all my jobs, this is the most challenging one. I had to adjust myself again to make sure that I am in line again with the thinking of the military, try and find out very quickly how the previous commanders were shaping the military, pushing it forward. It took me a while to learn myself back into the job, but I'm settling in now.
So you did not expect it, and as you said, previous commanders have led and shaped the military depending on how they saw its role, responsibilities and challenges. How are you looking to steer the military, or which direction are you planning to lead this army under your command?
Not very different from where the previous commanders has been steering the military. Not too different. But some of the big changes that I have done since I came in was really looked at our structure. The structure of the military. The military, we are in three types of soldiers. We have the regular force, we have the territorial force, and then we have the reserves. So regular force, full-time soldiers. We have the part-time soldiers who are territorial force soldiers, and we have the reserves. When you turn a former soldier over 55, you in the reserves. And the restructure that I did was to bring the territorial force a little bit closer to the regular force, because we use them a lot. They are the force that allows us to have this big number of people out on peacekeeping.
Yes.
So the new structure, I came in and we formed now 2 new headquarters. We call it headquarters.
What do you mean, bring them closer to the force? I mean, making them more regular, or?
That would be the word, a little bit more regular than the way the current TF behaves.
Ad hoc,
we leave them alone until we need them, and then we call them back in again.
That's right.
Before, there was just one major, one officer, and one warrant officer plus one, who were looking after our territorial force. We have 5 battalions, so you're talking about almost 5,000 people.
Right.
Who are in
a substantial number,
big number.
Yeah.
So what we did was remodel our structure so that they are properly looked after. So we now have a full-fledged headquarters. It's led by a full colonel, and they're all manned by regular force people. So there's continuity. From 3 to now 30, these headquarters. They relook at their training methods, even the trainings that they do, and do it more regularly, so that when we bring them into the regular force, the gap is not too wide.
Right.
So we can bring them in, use them, whether it's here in Fiji or out in the peacekeeping.
Right. So we'll talk about later about the sizes of the force and the budget that's you put to it. Now, you talked about so you strengthening the force, increasing. What's the vision here? I mean, there's been talk about this, working on this defense white paper. That I know some of your colonels have mentioned. And it'll elaborate on your vision, they said. So what's this defense white paper that you're working on?
The defense white paper...
Because there's plenty white papers that have been proposed in the past.
Defense white paper, this would be our third defense white paper. So the third one. First one we began to implement, and then the second one was we did not implement. It was I think the thinking at that time was that it was not good. and then now we're doing this one again. It basically provides us a roadmap as to the development of the force, our capabilities, and how we want to make sure that the capabilities that we have are relevant to the tasks that we need to do, and also the types of jobs that we will be expected from us. We have been working on the white paper, and it falls out from the National Defense Strategy led by Ambassador Delaney.
Right.
One of the, in that strategy, one of the, I would say, a new flavor of that strategy was, he calls it, and I agree with it, it's called comprehensive strategy, whereby we cannot be looking at ourselves in isolation, just the military for the job that we do. Comprehensive means we need to be working together a little more closely with all the other stakeholders. For example, when we go out to for HADR, you know, it's not only us. It's the medical people, the Ministry of Health. You
have the range of stakeholders involved in these these operations.
And so we need to structure ourselves too and make sure that we get connected with all these people. No longer are the times where we write policy just for us. I think policy must be comprehensive. It must include everybody else, because that's how we work now.
All right. You stay with us. You're watching For the Record. After the break, we will discuss the role for the military in the political life of the country. Welcome back to For the Record. We are with Rear Admiral Commander William Opoto here discussing issues to do with the Fiji military forces. So let's talk now about the role the military will play under your command in political life. How involved will you be in the politics of the country? As people have said, you've been in 1987, you can't escape this history. You were involved. In 2000, the military was involved. Again in 2006, you was involved. How do you see the military's involvement now in these affairs?
The military serves the government of the day. We see that as that is what the people want us to do. You know, people speak to us through the government that they elect to be in power. So we really serve the government of the day, and I mean, whatever is government of the day, and we do what they want us to do.
With all due respect, we'll say you've said that before, that you respect the government of the day, but that has not happened. So what assurances is there now? We've seen the comments from the Chief of Staff and the others saying we will respect the elections. So is there anything else you can say to the people of Fiji? This time, the military is really staying out.
We are staying out. We are staying out. Not on my watch. We are staying out. We trust that the people are mature enough to choose whoever they want to choose. And whoever they choose to be the government, that's the government that we serve. The military was very involved leading up to 2014. And we think that that's what was required to be done. We've brought the country to elections in 2014. Now it is the country that transformed. Our bosses are the people sitting down in parliament as we speak. Yes.
And that's been a common thing now, where, as you know, your military commanders set government right, become prime ministers. We saw it with Rambuka. You see it now with PM. And it's becoming an occurrence. Do you think, how do you see that now? Will that stop with you?
It stops. It stops. Not on my watch.
That'll happen. So you've unnerved political parties and some entities like the Methodist Church in the last three months or so. You've issued 3 statements that have caused concern in some quarters, that you are still meddling in politics. And we'll go through them in due course. So where do you see the military's role in the political life? What makes you start to comment? Because this is the view of the political parties, that you're now starting to meddle again in the politics by releasing these statements.
What we're doing is not really meddling in politics. Our role is given to us in the Constitution. There are 3 words that the Constitution, that is given in the Constitution. Our overall responsibility is the security, defense
and well-being.
3 words. Security, defense and well-being for Fiji and all Fijians. they're quite wide. That role given to us, plus the lessons that we've learned in the past, we should not forget the lessons. Every time we hear people speaking about a supremacist idea, whether it is a religion,
some of the language of the past,
the language, whether it is for religion to be above all the others, whether it is a race to above all the others, we will speak. What we're doing is just really to be proactive, because of the role that is given to us. It's better for us to speak, and people realize that, okay, maybe what I'm saying will incite rather than serve the purpose that they intend to serve. And every time we hear those kind of talk that had brought Fiji down in the past, we will speak out.
Right.
It is a proactive measure, and we are just doing the role that is required of us from the Constitution.
Let me just touch on that interpretation of the Constitution, because it was raised when this Constitution was brought into play, and it continues to be raised now, that interpretation of when you ensure at all times security, defense, and well-being of Fiji and all Fijians. So does it give the military authority to step in when you see something, apart from speaking out, as you did in the past, the reason saying, look, this is not good for the country, we have to step in and make a change? How do you interpret this interpretation in the Constitution?
In the Constitution. The only difference is that it is now written in the Constitution, but that is what we've been doing, the military has been doing all along. Defense has always been the traditional role of a military. Security, in the past, if the Fiji police requires us to come in and help them for internal
because some people
security.
saying, look, you should be coming in when there's an emergency, not during normal political discussions.
We're not coming in, we are just speaking. We are speaking out. It's a proactive measure. Again, learning from the past.
Right.
This is learning the lessons of the past. We do not want, let me put it this way, the worst case scenario is for us to come down, the military to come down and to stop something that is already happening. We're already broken down by then. What we are trying to do is that we should never ever see Suva burn down again. We should not have that situation where law and order is no longer. I mean, they trash television stations. We should just all tell ourselves no more. And so that is why we speak out. We speak out, and because we think that those were the issues that caused those kind of situations in the past.
It's time to speak out now. You're watching For the Record. We'll be back with this discussion after the break. Welcome back. You're watching For the Record. In the previous segment, we discussed the need for you to speak out now. And in an interview just a few days ago, the Chief of Staff said the military had learned from its past mistakes. You've moved out of the coup culture. You're no longer a threat to the country. And you've explained the need, why you saw the need to be making these statements. But another point that's being made is the military should not be making these statements. It should be left to the civilian authority that you report to, that you come under, which is the Ministry of Defense, to be making the statements on your behalf. So that you should be taking this to the Minister for Defense, explaining it to him, and that in a constitutional democracy, that is where the security forces should be going to express any concerns they have, and it's the responsibility of the elected government to deal with them and articulate them as they see fit. What's your response to that?
If the ministry will say the things that we said, they're saying it because we want them to say it. Why not hear it from us?
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Why not hear it from us? We, after all, we will be the people that will be deployed down there if something unbecoming happens. Hear it from us. People should not be scared of us. We're really saying it and saying the things that we say because we feel that if we leave it, nothing is said. As I said before, it had led in the past to the breakdown of law and order. So when we talked about the Christian state, we talked to we said what we said about declaring Fiji a Christian state. I had a discussion. I went and attended the Waswas in Nambua, which is a Methodist gathering. Yeah. And they asked me to speak, and I told them, I said, hey, look, you know, I am a Christian, you know. I am a lay preacher now. My parents were very devout Christians. My grandfather was a talatala. We are Christians not because it is written in a book. We are Christians, you know, because we believe in what we believe in.
But are people free in a constitution that guarantees freedom of expression? Aren't people free to make their views or opinions on what they want to see? For instance, I mean, it's not just the Christian state. They've asked reinstatement of the GCC and some of the other things. So what are the problems with each of these and people making their views or their opinions being heard as part of their rights as free speech?
Yeah. Yes, they're free. They're free to say what they need to say. But if you look at what we've been saying, we target those supremacist kind of ideas.
Which you see as a danger?
As a danger. Fiji, the thing that takes Fiji forward is unity. You know, unity, there's strength in our diversity. We should accept that diversity, and it will take us forward. You know, security in Fiji is when people are united. Our economy is thriving. And we live in a country that we are so blessed with the resources that it has.
Right.
So those ideas had brought us down in the past, and we should learn from that. We should kill those ideas
as soon as they start to think, as you would say. But okay, you stated earlier that people should not fear you. People should not see you as a threat. But the reality is the political parties, the three that have made statements here, are saying that they see you as a threat. Let me read you something that the Labour Party said. They saw soldiers in full combat gear. This was the headline: scare tactics or assuring the public of national security. The soldiers in combat gear, and they ask, one wonders, what was the occasion for this show of military strength? Is it normal in a democracy to see soldiers carrying guns parading through the streets at peacetime? They're saying similar marches took place ahead of the 2014 elections. They were taken to be intimidatory. Is it possible that similar tactics are now being employed ahead of the 2018 general elections? Now, are you concerned that this is a political party?
Yes.
They didn't win seats in the last election, but they're a registered political party. Are you concerned that they are seeing you, the military, as a threat?
Concerned, no. I think it is a little bit exaggerated. Those soldiers that they saw, we were doing what we call an internal security exercise. And we were just preparing ourselves. You know, I talked about breaking down of law and order. Eventually, if the law and order breaks down, we want to come in and deal with it very quickly, so that it, you know, it doesn't spread. And that was the exercise. I think people should be used to us, seeing us. We are there for you. You know, when the Bushmasters, when there was this talk about the Bushmasters when he drives around, the same vehicle is going to come to your aid if there is a flooding. They're very good HADR vehicles.
Right.
So when it comes to you, don't be scared. That's the vehicle that will save your life, and that is why we're having those three here in Fiji.
But it's the way people will interpret it. The political party is saying you're assuring the public. But some are saying, but by making these statements, by making these parades, you may actually be seen to be intimidating or meddling or interfering in the politics. Huh?
No, we're not. Yeah. We're not meddling. We are really just being very proactive.
Right.
Cool. You know, we're not too far away from what had happened in the past.
Yeah.
It is there.
It's still fresh in people's minds.
It's fresh in people's mind, and we're making change.
All right. So impartiality, because there is still the view that this military is closely tied to the government. You know, former senior officers are now leading this government. You yourself was permanent secretary. You were a minister for youth and sports. You actually stood for the Fiji First Party in the 2014 elections. So they're saying, can we really trust this commander not to be tipping the scale for Fiji First? The impartiality. And this was made by the Shadow Minister for Defense, Mr. Mbulitavu, says there needs to be a clearly defined role as to when they do come in and comment in the political arena. They should remain neutral and they should not participate in any political comment. You've and the one word you said, they should not be seen as a political referee. Okay, but you've addressed that in the past, in just now. But the impartiality.
Yeah.
Can they trust you despite the very strong link that cannot? It's there, direct link between the military and the Fiji First government.
Yes. This is the second election, we must remember. Second election after 2014. But we are impartial. I am impartial. I resigned from Fiji First for me to take up this job.
That's right.
I resigned from it. People are free to choose whoever they want to choose.
And you will respect that?
I will respect that, and we listen to the people through the government that they put in power.
And you think the country is moving on and, you know, changing from what has taken place in the past?
I think we have taken a big step forward from where we were in the past. A big step forward. I think there has to be resolve in all of us that the past, learn from the lessons from the past and really move forward. We all know what is good for Fiji in moving forward. You know, we're a multiracial country and we are equal. Our economy needs to thrive, and economy thrives on a stable, secure platform. That is what we try and provide. Those are the things that will take us forward and will ensure that my kid and my grandson lives in a country that he enjoys. We've messed up. In our generation, I think we've messed up. But we're taking a step forward. You know, this is the second elections now.
It's time to set things right.
It's time to set things right.
You're watching For the Record. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. You're watching For the Record. We're with the Rear Admiral Commander William Nopoto. Let's talk about the military numbers. As much has been said about the size and budget of the military. You know, recently criticized that your budget of 96.7 million was bigger than the Agriculture Ministry. Some people say is more important. But you play a crucial role. How do you see the size of the military today? Is it the right size? Does it need to increase, downsize? You know, militaries are always making these observations, adjustments.
Yeah.
How do you see it right now?
One thing I'm thankful about in the Constitution, it gives me the freedom to shape the military in what way we can so that we can do our job properly. All it says is that as long as I do not go over the budget that is given to us. Right now we sit at 4,030, that's regular force. Out of that 4,030, 790 are participating in peacekeeping. When you look at that number, that's a big ratio.
The chunk.
Big chunk. I think we would be #1 in the world when we look at that ratio for peacekeeping.
That's out of the country?
Yes, out of the country, 790. And we have our territorial force, 5 battalions. They were all infantry battalions. I've changed. One of them is no longer an infantry battalion. One of them, we call it the support battalion, but this is mainly the members of this battalion are engineers, doctors and nurses, logisticians. These are the people. This is the territorial force battalion that we call up very quickly when there is a disaster, for example, that we need to respond to. And we have changed the way we've done recruit. The first recruit passed out a few weeks ago. That went through a different set of training. Before, we used to train soldiers in basic training to come out as basic infantry soldiers. We added another 2 weeks, and they now, after learning the basic infantry skills, they learn basic engineering skills.
Okay.
So these soldiers...
Which equips them for the wider role that the military plays.
It equips them for the wider role that they need to play. Because they're territorial force soldiers, they go back to their villages, but it is the engineering skill that they take back that they can use there. The infantry skills is the skills that we utilize when we have to send them overseas for peacekeeping or even to be deployed here. So that's the number that we have.
That you have at the moment.
Yes.
And what's you spoke a bit about training. So people are always talking about the professionalism and discipline of the force. What efforts are being taken in this regard? Because we operate internationally as well. So what efforts are being done to make our officers world class?
Since 2006, you know, we've been cut off from Our traditional partners, Australia, New Zealand, as far as training is concerned, and then training in those years leading up to 2014 was very minimal, if you like, within the force, and that's one of the things that I'm doing right now, is to catch up on our training. So we send across our officers to these very professional institutions to train now, and I'm so glad that they're offering us a lot of places, including India.
What's the relationship now with our traditional partners?
It is on a much better level, very professional level. I talked to the two commanders for the Australian Defence Force and the New Zealand Defence Force over the phone almost every day. They call us up. They call me up when we were in need during TC Winston. So we're good. We're training our people, and also we're trying to provide them good equipment for the work that they do.
Right. Now, our peacekeeping mission is something we are famous for. We are renowned for the world over. We are operating in 5 areas now. If you can just give a quick thing on Golan Heights, Iraq, Lebanon, Sinai, and South Sudan.
Yes, yeah. We have 306 personnel with Andof, which is the one in Syria, Golan Heights. 146 with UNIFIL in Lebanon, southern Lebanon. 163 in UNAMI. We have 170 in Egypt, in Sinai. We have 2 with ANSO. They work around between Lebanon and Syria. And also Sudan, we have 3 there. A total of 790, out of which 37 are female. That's a big number from when we started. Before it was just all male. Now there's a high demand for females to be in the missions. Our peacekeeping missions have
making
changed.
a much more stronger contribution now to our efforts.
For example, in Syria, because there's a lot of fighting. Some of the people that get displaced mostly are women and children that they run away, and so they're more comfortable with females also. So we are trying to increase our female numbers in the force. We now sit at 328, and again, that's a big jump from way back.
That's right.
And we will continue to increase our female numbers.
There have been issues raised in the past, and some have said that the RFMF is a very macho institution. They have not really looked at this, not sure how true it is, on trauma, and the issues of trauma counseling and counseling for the troops in general. What is being done for affected soldiers and their families in this regard?
I will just say very quickly, I think one of the reasons why we are not too bad, put it that way, as far as trauma, PTSD they call it, is the fact that it's a way of life, is a communal way of life. We are lucky that we have that. When they go out for 1 year, they fall back into their own little group, the grog sessions. They go
There's a social safety net.
It's a social safety net. But there is a need for a professional psychologist. Just last week we were redoing our structure for our chaplaincy, whereby we are going to very soon advertise for a professional psychologist to be part of the chaplaincy department.
That was never there before.
It was never there before. We've never had one, so we're going to be advertising for a professional psychologist very soon. We certainly need them. We need them. Again, the macho attitude that we say, it's amazing for Fiji. Next year we celebrate 40 years of our peacekeeping, 40 years, and if we look at the negatives of it, it's very minimal. We're so thankful for the way that we live. I think that social network
that's right.
that people fall back into. But we certainly will be advertising for psychologists very soon.
Thank you. You're watching For the Record. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. You're watching For the Record. You initially mentioned the role of 37 women in peacekeeping operations around the world at the moment. That's quite a new thing. How would you describe the inclusion and the contribution of women in Fiji Army right now?
Yeah. They've brought in a lot. Again, for military that was predominantly all male in the past. They've brought in a big change.
What's the numbers?
Right now we have 328. There's a big demand also from the United Nations that for peacekeeping that 10% are females. It's because of the nature of the...
You're close to achieving that, huh?
We're close, and we're working hard to achieve that 10% even here in Fiji for females. The stumbling block, if you like, is you need to look at our structures so that they can accommodate females. So we've changed some of our dormitories to include females. It's that is slowing us down. But otherwise, we will continue to increase them.
So it's just the resources and infrastructure to accommodate.
So that it can accommodate them. The new ships that we're getting for the Navy will have the ability to take females. They will build it that way.
Right.
And we're looking forward to our first female Navy personnel that's coming up. Yes.
Another issue is the ethnic balance
of
the military. You know, the statement made, you make a lot of pronouncements for multiracial Fiji, but in fact the military, some would argue, remains an exclusive ethnic body in a multi-ethnic society dominated by the Itoke. So what efforts are being made to make the military more representative of the Fiji population?
Right now we have 67 Indo-Fijians within our forces in total. We have 13 who are currently serving out in peacekeeping. When we advertise for recruits, generally there are more Itoke that come than Indo-Fijians. And our recruit is open to anybody. As long as you're a Fiji citizen, you come in and you go through the requirements that you need to go through, all the tests. But it is open to everybody, really. I think people people may think that we are just recruiting from the Itoke. No, it is open to everybody.
Right.
And we welcome...
So they're all open to come in, eh?
We welcome anybody to come in and join. And the Indo-Fijians that are in now enjoy themselves. In fact, there's very good officers and soldiers. The last CO in Sinai was Lieutenant Kumar. The OC in Lebanon was Major Singh. Right now there's another Major Singh who's there. So you know, the job, it's a tough job, but can be done, and it's open to anybody.
Anyone can do it.
Anybody,
whichever race and whichever gender.
Yes, exactly.
Rear Admiral William Enopoto, thank you for joining me on For the Record. That was For the Record for the evening. We hope you enjoyed the show and will join us again next Sunday at the same time.